Hello and welcome to episode 8 of the Saturate podcast. My name is Katie. I'm coming to you from Long Island, New York, where I live with my husband and our dog Lola, our crested gecko Scully, and our betta fish Crowley. This is a podcast mostly about knitting and just general yarny goodness with some other crafts sprinkled in from time to time. I want to say a big thank you to all of my returning viewers and subscribers. Thank you so much, it means a lot to me. And hello and welcome to any new viewers. I know that this episode I might have some new people tuning in to check out my podcast, so hello everyone. I hope you enjoy chatting with me today. You can find me on Instagram as @arrowknits, and you can find me on Ravelry as knitmusic. There's also an Arrowknits podcast group on Ravelry. I put all of the show notes there for each episode. There's a hello thread where you can come say hello to me and introduce yourself. And there's also a questions thread if you have any questions that you want to ask me. You can also go ahead and ask me questions about different episodes in each of the show notes threads if you'd like as well. I have a little bit of admin. I've never said that before. I've never said I had admin. I feel like a real podcaster now. I have an announcement to make. I hinted about it last time, but officially our promo video is out for the Spin for All 2017. Yay! So I'm gonna link down below in the down bar to the promo video for the Spin for All. It's a drop spindle spin along that I am co-hosting with Taylor from Wool Needles Hands and Joy from The Anxious Knitter, and we put together an awesome promo video for you. It's got all of the details you need to get you started, but I will give you a little outline. The Spin for All is starting on June 1st and it's running until August 1st. So you've got about 2 months of spinning. It's for drop spindles and it's for all levels, but we're especially appealing to newbies here because we're such newbies at spinning. So again, if you're interested, if that sounds like something that you'd like to do, see the video for all the details. You'll know it's the promo video because the thumbnail has all 3 of our smiling faces on it. And yeah, I just want to say that I'm really excited. So I don't have any spinning to show you today because I'm waiting until June 1st. I might have a fibery acquisition to show you though, just saying. So I hope that you'll get your drop spindles ready, and I hope that if you've been thinking about picking up a drop spindle and trying it out, just go for it, join us, join in the chatter threads. All 3 of us have a chatter thread set up in our Ravelry groups that you can just show us the fiber that you're planning on using. If you want to post on Instagram before the spin along starts, show us your fiber, if you're between fiber choices. Yeah, we'd love to see all that stuff. And of course, all 3 of us will also be hosting prize threads for finished objects. Feel free to triple dip. So chat in all of our threads, enter in all of our finished object threads towards the end of the spin along. And also along those lines, if you're a maker who'd like to donate a prize to the Spin for All, you can get in touch with me via a direct message on Instagram or on Ravelry. That's it for announcements, really. Not too heavy on the knitting this episode. I was a little under the weather this week, not feeling that great towards the beginning of the week. So I decided instead of doing anything that required a lot of thinking, that I would power through and finish. You guys are gonna be so happy. My V-socks. Look, there's 2 of them. How exciting, yay! And I have to say, I knit the second sock, I think on Monday I had this much. I'm not sure if this is really the second sock or the first sock, but I had this much of it done. So then I just powered through, and today is Thursday, the 25th of May, I believe. So I powered through and knit the whole rest of the sock from Monday to Wednesday night. I cast this off Wednesday night, I finished the heel. So it turns out that if I'm motivated enough, I really can work this V-stitch pattern a lot faster than I thought. And these are probably my most favorite pair of socks. So this is my finished object segment. This is my first pair of V-socks. It will not be my last pair. However, I don't think that I'm going to cast them on for any sort of time commitment thing again. Only because it took me a little longer to work the V-stitch, as I mentioned, and I felt a little bit pressured by it. But look how squishy they are. I apologize for the lighting today. It's a super, super gray, dreary, damp day here on Long Island, and it's gonna be, I think, for the next couple days, so I apologize for the poor lighting, but you can still see the beautiful V-stitch going on. It's very squishy, very stretchy. So I knit these, I'm just gonna hold on to one. I knit these in Long Dog yarns. This is the mermaid hair colorway. This V-sock design is by Brandy Belton. I knit these on US 1.5 needles, which is a 2.5 millimeter needle if you're anywhere else. And I followed the pattern exactly, except for I popped in an afterthought heel instead of the short row heel given in the pattern. I do want to say that I actually did a different heel from the toe. So I did the toe from the pattern, but then this is an afterthought heel. And they look similar, but they don't really match, which doesn't bother me too much, but if you've watched the podcast before, you may know that that sort of thing kind of gets to me a little bit, but no big deal. They are similar, but I know pattern-wise that I worked them differently, so yeah. But love these, love the way that they turned out. I used a lot more, well, not a lot more, I used a little bit more of the skein than I normally do for a pair of socks because this V-stitch really, really eats up yarn. I don't know if you can see the way it sort of sits on top. I'm just gonna cover my face. It sort of sits on top, so it eats up more yarn than like a plain vanilla pair of socks does. So this is what I have left of the cake that I wound up. The label's in there still. So I weighed this and it was, I think I used 63 grams. Let's see. I did. I used 63.73 grams because I have my handy little scale that I can use now that tells me exactly how much I used. So yeah, 63 grams is more than I typically use in a plain pair of socks for myself. So, and I have a US women's 8.5 size, 8.5 foot, which is about, my foot's about 9.25. I make my socks to about 9.25 inches on the foot. So I don't have tiny, tiny feet by any means, but yeah, this used up more yarn, which is good. I mean, you know, you buy a nice pretty skein of sock yarn to knit a pair of socks with, and then you, if you're someone like me, you really only use half of it sort of on the pair of socks, and then you're like, well, I have all this leftover yarn, and then you start thinking about scrap projects or shorty socks. So yeah, I can't wait to do other stuff with this though, because it is so pretty. And I just want to show you, it came with a 20 gram mini. I bought her sock sets. So it came with a 20 gram mini, and this is what I have left. Look how cute. So I used 19 grams, or like 19.2 grams, yeah, 19.2 grams. So this is under a gram of yarn here, which I was nervous because I've never done contrasting heels, toes, and cuffs before. So I didn't know how much yarn it was going to take up. I mean, obviously a lot of people buy 20 gram minis for heels, toes, cuffs, and they're sold with regular skeins of sock yarn all the time as sets, so it works out for most people, but I had never done it before. So when I got to the second heel, because I had already done the second toe, and I'm knitting the heel, I'm looking at this little tiny bunch of yarn I have left, and I was like, oh, I hope I have enough. I'll be really upset. That's why I did the heel second on the second sock. I figured if I didn't have enough, that I could rip out the other heel as well and just do a totally different color for the heel, or maybe just pop back in the main color and use that for the heel. But it all worked out, but I did only have a gram of yarn left. So a little under the wire, but that's okay. There's also a shorty version of this V-sock. I own both versions of the pattern. The shorter version is obviously shorter, but I think it's a little roll cuff, like right here. So I think that if I did the V-socks again and I was using, although I don't know if I'd be able to use leftovers, I'd have to check out people's projects to see how many grams they use to do the short version. I think that that might be the way to go, because I saw some people during Brandy's knit along just flying through making the short ones, and I got a little bit jealous. So also, a lot of people did them toe up. The pattern's written cuff down, but a lot of people worked it toe up, and it's not my normal method for socks, but I feel like maybe with this pattern I could have tried that out. Maybe it would have seemed to go by faster for me. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not at all. So yeah, I want to try the short version for sure. Maybe I'll do the short version toe up, and then it'll feel like a brand new thing for me. I don't know. So now that I've finished those socks, I feel sort of free of my sock chains. I still have my stripy socks on the needles, my Valkyrie Fibers pudding socks. I have not touched those since the last podcast, so I'm not even going to show them to you. I have done 0 stitches, but I will now. So now that those socks are done, I will feel like I can sneak in a few stitches here and there, a few rows on those plain vanilla striped socks and get those done, because the V socks were actually my April socks. And yeah, we're at the end of May now. So I sort of lost steam with them. I definitely lost steam with them. And I just feel like I need a break. So that's what I'm gonna do. And I can focus on other things, like all of the shawls, all of them. So I was actually good, and I only cast on 1 shawl. But speaking of shawls, last time I showed you my finished the First Light shawl by Vera Valimaki, and I said that I would pop in some photos this time to show you. I showed you on the podcast, but my husband took some lovely photos for me outside of me wearing it and sort of displaying it in a way that you could see the whole thing a little bit better. So I'm gonna pop those in right here. And I also wanted to let you know how much yarn I ended up using, because last time I had not weighed my leftovers. So I used nearly the same amount of the black and the white. I used nearly the same amount of onyx and optic. I used just a little bit more of the optic, which is the white speckled color. And my totals were, I ended up using 72 grams of the optic white, and I used 70 grams of onyx. So they're 100-gram skeins. So you end up using, you know, almost 3/4 of the skeins. I have a good little bit left over. So as I mentioned last time, if you're looking to swatch on that project at all, go for it. You should have enough yarn. It shouldn't be a problem. I didn't swatch because I was afraid, but I think that you can and not have any worries. Super happy with the way that turned out. I did get to wear it once. We had 2 days last week that were in the 80s, almost 90, and we're sweltering. And then it's been pretty cool here on Long Island. It's been not the greatest weather. So I did actually get the chance to wear my shawl once, and I might get the chance to wear it again because I don't know how the weather's gonna be this weekend. So I'm hoping that I can sneak in a couple more wears on my First Light shawl. So with that, let me show you the shawl that I have on the needles right now. So this is my only new cast on, and I was working on it monogamously except for my V socks. So I sort of switched, and in the past 3 days I have not knit on this at all. So this has been on pause for about 3 days so that I could finish my V socks and put them to bed and be done with them. Also, I feel like I should be honest with you, and I haven't woven in my ends on those V socks yet. I just cast them off last night and went to bed, and I was so excited to show them to you, so I didn't want to wait until I wove in the ends, and so they're not blocked or anything yet either. I will report back if the fabric changes at all after blocking. I'm not going to stretch them out on the blockers. I'm gonna soak them and then lay them flat. which is what I did with my last pair of socks, and that worked out really well. I feel like stretching them out on the blockers when they're wet really stretches them too much. So a dry block like this is perfect. It's just stretching it out enough so that you can see the pattern. And it does, you know, stretch it a little bit, but I feel like when I block them that way when they're wet, it's just too much stretch. So this is my Saturate shawl. Yay! I'm loving knitting on this so much. So I'm keeping this in my fringe field bag, which I'm excited to be using again. I haven't used it for anything in a while. For a while I was using it for socks, and I felt like I needed to start using it for more important things. Not that socks are not important. I love knitting them, but this has been living in here, and this has just been a pleasure to knit. I am using Casual Fashion Queen's Bohemian sock set, which is an 80-20 blend, 80-20 merino nylon. The colors don't have names, or maybe she has named them since, but as far as I know, only the middle color, the third color in the set, which is called Bohemian, has a name. I've been making up my own names to these, but I won't, just cute little names for them, what I would name them, but I won't say them out loud in case they are actually named at this point, and I don't want to give you the wrong idea about these color names. So Bohemian is not here yet. This is only the first two colors, which as far as I know are nameless. And also look at my cute little gnome knitter progress keeper that I got in my fiber share package. I'm happy to be using it, and also it's a little like funfetti one. It's got colored sprinkles in there, so I thought it was perfect for this project. I think it kind of goes together. So this is only the first two colors. So I'm using a size US 4 for this, which is a 3.5 millimeter needle, and I'm using my Likey needles. Hope I'm saying that right. Not up on my Norwegian vocabulary, but I'm enjoying these a lot. So this is only the first two colors, and the color melting is so much fun. I won't get into detail because it's a paid-for pattern, but I will tell you that it's more than just, you know, we're gonna stripe with this color and then we're gonna stripe with that color. It's got a lot more going on to it, and it's really engaging, but not in an intimidating sort of way. The pattern is charted, but not a knitting chart. It's an actual like spreadsheet that's row by row. So it'll say, you know, row 3, and then whether it's right side or wrong side, then the directions for row 3, and then your stitch count at the end. And, oh, and which color you're supposed to be using. And all the rows are spelled out for the whole thing. So it's quite a few pages, the pattern. But each row is spelled out, which is helpful because it's not the kind of pattern that you could necessarily look at and know where you are, what row you're on, what color you're supposed to be using next, because it switches up so much. So I actually printed the pattern. By the way, this Saturate shawl is by Mara Catherine Briner, who is Orange Knits. I forgot to mention that. I actually printed this pattern. I typically knit straight from my iPad or even my phone. I usually just read the PDFs right off of iBook. I just open the PDF in Ravelry, and then I click open in iBooks, and then it's in my iBooks folder, which I like because then I can open it also on my cell phone if I'm somewhere and I don't have my iPad with me. So that way I don't really have to worry about taking the pattern around, taking my iPad around. I like that I can open it in iBooks, cell phone or iPad. But for this, I actually did print it out, and I'm so glad that I did. And you can use highlighter tape or highlighters. I'm just checking the rows off. So there's a number, you know, the rows are numbered down the left-hand side, and as soon as I finish a row, I just put a little check mark, or I'm just putting a line actually next to it. So I know that that's the last row that I did, the one that I'm up to. And it's working out for me. But it's the color melting sections are long. So I'm still melting colors 1 and 2, and I still have a little bit to go before 3 makes an appearance. And even when it does, it's very slight. So you end up using even more than 2 colors at once, which is super fun. It's a garter stitch shawl, so I always find garter stitch really satisfying. It's my favorite stitch. My favorite just basic stitch. I like it better than stockinette. I just always have. So because of that, my progress keeper is not marking progress right now. It is showing me which side is the right side, because there's not really a whole lot of difference between the right side and the wrong side on this shawl. I will, however, start using this progress keeper to mark where my last podcast was, where I showed you, so that I can see how much progress that I've made, and so that you can see how much progress that I've made. This is an I-cord edging, which of course needs to be blocked because it's pulling inwards, but not pulling this way, which is great. It's really stretchy this way. So I really think that the I-cord edging is really perfect for this pattern. I'm having a little bit of, I don't want to say I'm having trouble, but when I'm doing the color changes in the I-cord edging, I'm finding that sometimes my color catches are like popping out of the I-cord itself. I can't get it to look perfect on just the one side, but I don't know. I think that might be normal. I'm not doing any crazy twisting with the colors. I'm just putting the new color that I need to knit with underneath the old color, if that makes sense. So I'm not doing any like twisting one over the other, because for the most part it's just 1 or 2 rows between the color changes right now anyway. I think that might change. I think I might have bigger gaps later. So I'm just twisting them one over the other, the same as I did for the first light shawl. So no major twist there. But yeah, I don't know if that's normal to have your little twists show on your I-cord edge. It's not bothering me too much because where it is actually on the wrong side of the shawl for the most part. So when you look over at the right side along the I-cord edge, you don't really see too much of that color. It's sort of turned over on that other side, tucked under. So I don't think it'll bother me too much. I tried looking in Ravelry and I tried Googling it, and I didn't find too much about color changes in an I-cord. The one thing I did find said just make sure you're bringing the new color under the old color, which is what I'm doing. So I think I should be fine. I don't think it's going to bother me too much. I would just hate to get, halfway through this project and discover that I've been doing it completely wrong and I could have been having the perfect I-cord edges this whole time, and then I'll be really upset and tempted to rip back my project, which I would do. I would do that now, actually. If I found a technique that would stop that from happening, I don't know if I can really even show you. It's hard to see because from far away it just looks like part of the I-cord, so maybe that's why. I don't know if you can see, like right here, there's like a little extra loopy. It's interesting to keep this tension even on the I-cord edge, especially when switching colors. It's pretty close. It's not bothering me. This is an I-cord cast on, which I did have to do a couple times because I wanted it to look really, really even where those the first bit of I-cord is. I've done I-cord cast-ons before, but I couldn't get it to the way I wanted it. So I did try a couple times. It didn't take me long. I mean, I tried a couple times within like 15 minutes, so it's fine. And I like the way that it came out. So I'm immensely enjoying this. I can't wait to really, really get into it and add in the third color. I'm not too far away. The other thing that's interesting about this is that you stay on the same stitch count for quite a while before increasing. So unlike other shawls where you're always increasing at the sides, this shawl isn't like that. So I actually find that easier because I don't feel like, you know, I'm watching TV and I'm knitting a row and then I'm like, oh, did I increase at the end of that row or not? And then you're looking at it and it's in garter stitch and you're like, ooh, maybe I did. And then you got to count them all, but then there are no stitch counts in the pattern. So you're trying to, you know, sort of justify how many you should have. So I like that the increases are not constant. At least they're not right now. They may get more sort of rapid as the pattern progresses, but I like that I can have the same stitch count for a little while and not worry about it, so I can, you know, watch those new episodes of Sherlock that are on Netflix and not worry about it. So yeah, that's my only whip this week. So just one whip and one FO, one finished object, one work in progress. But I feel good. I feel good that I got those socks done. I feel good that I finally was able to cast on for the Saturate shawl. And can I just say that it took me basically 2 days to wind the yarn for the Saturate shawl. I mean, not 2 full days, but I was having such trouble with, I think, my ball winder. I don't think it's my Swift. I have a Knit Picks ball winder and the Knit Picks Swift, and the Swift seems to be performing admirably. It spins. Nothing seems to really be wrong with it. The ball winder has given me trouble in the past as far as uneven, but what happened each time I tried to wind those skeins is that I'd have a, you know, for demonstration, I'd have my cake going, a small cake going, and then all of a sudden the yarn would start winding underneath the cake that was already going, or even sometimes above it. So I'm sure other people have had this problem before. I don't know if it's me, if it's the Swift, if it's the ball winder. I've had little hiccups with the ball winder before, but what's bothering me is that a couple weeks ago, I wound 3 skeins of yarn for my friend Sarah in like 10 minutes, and there were no problems, and they all came out perfect. So I'm wondering if it was actually the length of these skeins from the Bohemian set. I did notice that they seemed to be, they were only tied once, and I did notice that my Swift was pretty high up, in a pretty high position, so I'm wondering if it was the ball winder, but maybe it wasn't the ball winder's fault. But I had to re-cake rather, each skein at least once. Some of them I had to do up to 3 times because the cakes were so wonky that there was no way I was gonna knit from them. So they didn't come out perfect, but they're all knittable. They're all knit-worthy now. Some little loops over the top of the cakes, you know, some little uneven strands going this way, but I'll just be careful when I'm knitting with them. So yeah, I don't know. I went through a couple days where I was like pulling my hair out and wanting to order a new ball winder, which I don't want to do because, I mean, I have a ball winder and I want to use the one that I have. It's been okay for me so far. It's not the most luxurious ball winder. I see some ball winders on Instagram, you know, people film themselves winding yarn, and I get really jealous because it just looks so sturdy and easy, like nothing wrong could ever happen when they're winding a ball of yarn. Meanwhile, I'm on eggshells every time I wind something. So, but I'm sure that's a problem that a lot of people have, and I do think it was just the combination of the length of the skein, where the position of my Swift, and then being that I have my Swift and ball winder on a stand only about this far away from each other. They really are about this far away from each other. Yeah, so I think it was probably a lot of contributing things. So I'm not going to throw my ball winder out the window yet. I'm gonna wind something else eventually, and I'll see what happens to it, and then I will assess the situation. So yeah, sorry, I just wanted to rant a little bit about that winding thing, because I couldn't wind it all in one session. All I wanted to do was wind my yarn and start my shawl. I know I don't need all 5, but it was bothering me that I kept having problems. So I'm like, all I want to do is wind this yarn and start it, and it took me like a couple hours each day because of the knots and the tangling, and then I made the mistake of taking the last skein off of the Swift, so then that actually knotted up on me. That was a fun puzzle. So let's get into some acquisitions. I don't have too much to show you this episode. I was very good in the acquisition department. I even went to a fiber festival and I actually didn't buy anything. So I want to show you my Wayward Sons sock yarn installment for the month of May from Valkyrie Fibers. So this is, like I said, the May skein. There's only one more left. This is the third one. There is one more coming in June, and I'm kind of sad because I really enjoyed these. This is called Driver Picks the Music. Look how beautiful that green is. The green is tonal, and then it actually does have some speckle in it here and there. So it's all these beautiful greens, browns, tonal black, and then like a tan color as well. So this is, if you're not familiar, this is a sock club based on the show Supernatural. So it's all inspired by characters and themes from the show. So this is called Driver Picks the Music, and if you've never watched Supernatural before, this is a themed after one of the two main characters, Dean. So there are two brothers, Sam and Dean, and this is Dean. And I love this. So the green is supposed to be, I believe, fan fiction green, which is Dean's eyes. He has beautiful green eyes. Team Dean over here. And yeah, and then he always wears like flannels and boots and that sort of thing. So this is all like the colors of his outfits, things that he wears, little like sort of black jacket. This comes with a mini. So this is a light gray tonal mini. It's actually really pretty. There's a lot of variation going on in there. And this is called Blue Steel, which is, well, Blue Steel is a Zoolander reference, but this is a reference to a reference in Supernatural. So I could not be more happy that this is called Blue Steel. And I think that it actually does coordinate really well with this set for heels, toes, and cuffs. It also comes, every month comes with a progress keeper from Knitty by Nature. And this month, I clipped it right onto the ball of yarn so that I wouldn't lose it. I don't know why I didn't think of that before. I'm gonna try to get it not shiny. Not shiny. So this is, oh my goodness, I'm blinding you. It's a little slice of pie. It's so cute. So pie is also a Dean reference. Dean always gets pie everywhere they go, every restaurant, every gas station, he always wants pie. So I think that's an adorable progress keeper for a Dean themed month. And this is what the progress keeper came on Knitty by Nature shop. So you can see. This is similar to her business card, but I just wanted to show you. That's what it did come on. I saved it, but I'm putting it on my skein of yarn so I don't lose it. I have to do that with my Castiel one too, because I have the progress keeper separate from the skein of yarn because I didn't think to do that. I know, what a leap. So yeah, the next installment is going to be a Sam themed yarn, I believe, because this is Driver Picks the Music. So I think that the next one is going to be Sam centered. I'm really interested actually in which colors those are going to be, and I'm wondering if Valkyrie Fibers is going to keep doing a sock club. Oh, by the way, I was so excited to tell you all about Dean that I didn't give you any information on the yarn. This is her matte sock base, and it's a 75-25, and there's a lot of yardage in here. It is 463 yards. So there's a ton of yarn. I'm knitting a pair of plain vanilla socks on my April installment, the pudding socks, and I think I'm gonna have a ton left over. So I'm wondering if I can squeak out a pair of short socks. I keep talking about these short socks. I've never knit a pair, but now that I have all this leftover sock yarn, I just keep thinking, oh, I'll knit a pair of shorties with that. Okay? I'm complaining that I don't have enough time to knit other things because I'm knitting too many socks, yet I'm planning all of these short socks with my leftovers from the longer socks. Okay, Katie. Okay. That's the only yarn I have to show you. I have some fiber to show you. What? This actually isn't a new acquisition. I've had this for a while, like at least a month, but I haven't shown it on the podcast because I felt silly that I purchased fiber for a craft that I don't know how to do very well. So, but now that we're doing the spin for all, I feel like I can show you, and because I have so much done of my other spinning on my Shetland Morit, the brown fiber, I'm thinking that if I get that done and ply it in the beginning of the spin for all, that I'm actually going to start spinning this, and it's okay whether I finish it or not because, hey, I'm not actually eligible for prizes, but I want to spin with you all and learn more as much as I can. So, oh, this is so beautiful. I hope I don't mess it up when I spin it. That's also why I've been afraid to show you, because then if I start spinning and it looks like a bear attacked it, I'm going to be really embarrassed. But you know, I will show you anyway. That's how I roll. Look at this. I don't even know how to show you the whole thing. How about this? It is so beautiful. This is Targhee. So it's 100% Targhee wool. It's a 4-ounce braid. And this is called First Blush. And it is created by LCB. Oh, look at that. I'm obsessed with like this rose color with this like yellowy mustard together. I want to make a shawl that has those two colors together, or a sweater, a striped sweater with those two colors, because you know I love stripes. Oh boy. Anyway, I just think that these colors are so beautiful. They're great spring colors, which isn't my normal color palette that I'm attracted to. But again, that blush with the mustard is just like, it sounds like we're playing Clue. The blush with the mustard. Anywho, let me show you. Well, this is the bag that it comes in. So it's got Elsie's info on it. I put it in front of my face. And then it comes with a colorway card. This might be a little bit easier for you. It's got all the info on the back. So this just comes in the bag. I like that it's got a little punch hole because if you spin this and make it into a yarn, you can then attach this tag to it and put it in your stash or give it away, and it's already labeled with what it is. I mean, there's no, you know, yarn info on it because it hasn't been spun yet, but it's nice that all of that info is here. If you're not following Created by LCB on Instagram, let me see what her handle is. And yeah, it's just at Created by LCB. You have to follow her. Even if you're not a spinner, which I've been following her for a while before I even thought about wanting to spin, but her dyeing is so beautiful. I mean, she posts photos of her braids and they're, you know, usually, I mean, I'm not holding it in a very flattering manner, or she'll post like several braids straight up and down like this next to each other. Her color sense is incredible, and she has a wide variety of styles. So she's got soft pastels, she's got moody colors, she's got brights, she's got some neons, fewer on the neons usually, but she does have them. And then she has this amazing range of fibers, particularly amazing range of wools. So this is Targhee, it's 23 count micron. I chose this because I did a little bit of Googling, and I know that merino is not the longest staple length. So the actual length of the wool fibers when you're spinning them is shorter, which makes it harder to draft and harder to spin. So I looked up Targhee and I found that it has a relatively long staple length. So I figured it'd be good for a newbie like me to start on something like that. and it's pretty soft. I mean, I like merino, but I'm not super sensitive to wools that are not merino. I know some people are really exclusive with their merino love. I like all kinds of wool, and I think that this is still really soft. I'm actually amazed at how soft it is. So I have not, oh, I think one of the Brooklyn tweed yarns is Targy, I think. But I think that I'm really gonna enjoy spinning this, but I'm worried about splitting this up. Like, so it's in a braid, and then I'm gonna unbraid it, and then I'm gonna split this, but I have to make sure that the color repeats, that I take them and spin them evenly, or in the same order, I mean. So I don't wanna, let's say I split this into two. I'm gonna split it into more than two. I don't wanna invert one end on the other, and then the color sequence won't be the same. And then it'll look really weird when I apply it. So I'm a little bit nervous. Like, I feel like I need to find a section in my little craft room here and just lay them out in a place where it won't be enticing for my dog Lola to sniff them and or eat them or cuddle them. She does love the scent of wool. Who doesn't? So I'm excited to start trying that. I do want to get my other spinning finished first. And I want to get better at spinning. Also, I want to mention that this was really affordable. I always thought that buying fiber to spin, buying beautiful fiber to spin would be incredibly expensive. And it's not as much as I thought. I mean, this was cheaper than buying a skein of sock yarn. I can't remember the cost because it was a little while ago, but check out her site. And her prices do range based on, I think, the fibers. She's got some other stuff that's got mixes, so it's a blend. Mixes, because we're baking now. It's got blends of fiber. She's got some stuff with silk and tencel, different stuff like that mixed in that looks really, really beautiful. Stuff that I wouldn't want to try yet because I think that I should just stick to the wool for now. So those are my two acquisitions. That's all I have to show you. Let's talk about patterns on my radar. So I don't have too much different to talk to you about this time because my mindset is still saying brioche, 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 3 times like that every time. I want to knit brioche still. So I talked to you last time about the Rebel shawls and by Knit Graffiti, and the Sosu MCal, which also has brioche in it. I still really, really want to knit something brioche. I'm thinking that I should try something that's more beginner friendly. I just don't think I could do the Rebel shawl. I could try it. I mean, the worst that'll happen to me is that I buy the pattern, I try it, I'm not able to do it, and then I knit something else, and then I come back to that pattern with different yarn when I am more skilled on brioche. But I've been watching some videos, and the concept of it makes sense to me. I feel like maybe I'm nervous for nothing. I should just try it. I'm just gonna try it. I think so. I'm just gonna go for it. So I need to find a pattern that's appropriate for me. I don't know. So look out for some brioche in my future and then in yours on the podcast. I think that could be happening very soon. I do want to cast on something else, but I know that I'll have trouble working on 2 different things at the same time. Maybe I will anyway. Maybe I'll have one that'll be my main project and then one that will definitely take back burner until my Saturate shawl is done. So maybe that's what I'll do. So I'm still thinking about brioche. And the other thing that I need to get cracking on is a Rhinebeck sweater. I know I don't need a Rhinebeck sweater. I always used to think that people who knit Rhinebeck sweaters, not that people who knit them, but I always thought the concept of it was a little bit silly. But now I want to knit a Rhinebeck sweater. I need to knit a sweater. I have a couple of sweaters quantities of yarn in my stash that need to be knit. I want to knit them. I have sweaters that I want to knit. So I think that thinking of it as a Rhinebeck sweater, you know, due, if you will, in October is a good way to, you know, get my butt in gear and start knitting one. So I don't know, I'm kind of between, so I'm between the Vodka on the Rocks pattern by Thea Coleman, Baby Cocktails, which I mentioned before, I have mentioned in the past. I have a sweaters quantity of Shelter, Brooklyn Tweed Shelter, that I could use for that. That's a lot of texture. It's a ton of texture and cabling, which is fine. It would just be quite the time commitment, I think. On the flip side, I have a sweaters quantity of Cascade Eco Plus in, I think it's called Straw. It's a beautiful, like earthy yellow color. And I have that to knit Wolf River by Melissa Schwajwari. Schwajwari. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. She is of the Plum Dandy group on Ravelry. She and Alicia Plummer are sort of partners in crime over on that group as designers. But a lot of people have knit the Wolf River sweater, and it is a pullover. It's lace in the front, and it's technically bulky weight, but if you've ever worked with Cascade Eco or Eco Plus, you know that it errs on the light side of bulky. When I think of that actual yarn, it's more of an Aran weight to me. It can be knit in an Aran weight, so it's not super thick and chunky like you would think of when you think of a bulky or a chunky yarn. It's also a little bit rustic, but it comes in super huge put-ups. So those hanks are ginormous. So it's also pretty pocketbook friendly when you're thinking about knitting a sweater. So I have 3 skeins of it, and I think I only need 2 to knit myself a sweater. So I don't know what I'll do with that 3rd skein. Maybe I'll knit a scarf or a cowl or something. Or a shawl maybe. Ooh, maybe I can knit an Aran weight shawl with it. So anyhow, I need to choose between those 2 patterns. I need to figure it out. I would like to knit the Vodka on the Rocks pattern, I think, a little bit more. But like I said, it's a big commitment. It's a big time commitment just because of the texture itself. I mean, even if I'm a decently fast knitter, but I mean, there's only so fast you can go when you're looking at charts and cables and stuff, so, and texture. So I need to get that together. So I have a lot to think about. So hopefully the next episode I will have 1 or 2 new cast-ons to show you, and they won't be socks. I hopefully trying to vow, I'm being really non-committal about this, that I'm not going to cast on new socks. I probably will knit on my self-striping pudding socks from Valkyrie Fibers, but I'm going to try not to cast on any new ones. The other thing I wanted to talk to you a little bit about was the Long Island Fleece and Fiber Festival that happened this past weekend, May 20th and 21st, here on Long Island, New York. It was a lot of fun. It was the first time I've ever been. It's a small little festival that's held out in the East End at the Halleckville Farm Museum, which is a beautiful, beautiful place. Like I said, it's a small little festival, and it's a lot of animals. So a lot of fun, which I love meeting animals. Lots of sheep that you can say hello to, lots of alpacas with beautiful eyelashes batting at you. So I have some photos and some little short videos that I'm going to insert and show them to you. Maybe I already have and you're seeing them right now as I'm speaking. There was also sheep herding, which was a lot of fun. The woman doing the demonstration was very, very informative about training her dogs, and she had 3 different dogs that were all different ages and skill levels, And as a dog lover and somebody that sort of, I like to learn things about dogs, I found it very, very interesting. The relationship that the dogs have with these sheep is like not, it's not what you would think. It's sort of a weird modification of predator-prey that I'd never really thought about before. And it's really, really fun to see how eager these dogs are to please their masters. It's awesome, the relationship that this woman had with her dogs. And then seeing them conflicted with wanting to, the younger dog with wanting to chase the sheep anyway, was a little bit funny and cute. So I had a lot of fun meeting all the animals, some great vendors. Most of them were local, so local yarn dyers, and then quite a lot of, a good amount of spinning fiber was there. Quite a few braids. A few dyers had braids for sale, and I tried to buy one and I couldn't. I was too overwhelmed. I don't do well when I have too many choices unless I've already narrowed it down in my mind. So if I would have gone there like, I'm gonna go to this vendor and I'm gonna pick one of her things and I'm looking for this color palette, I would have been fine, but I didn't go in there with a plan and I got really overwhelmed and I didn't buy anything at all. There were some beautiful yarns there, but because all the projects that I have planned coming up, I already have yarn for, I did not want to purchase any more yarn. I just, dare I say, I don't need any more yarn right now. I don't mean that. I have my fingers crossed, actually. You can't see it, but I said that with my fingers crossed. No, but I have a few projects in the works, so I didn't want to purchase any yarn, and then I was thinking, really, like I said, about purchasing fiber. I just couldn't bring myself to choose when there were so many beautiful ones, and there were also some great things there, like hand woven baskets, and there was amazing pizza. They had a pizza truck with a brick oven. The truck was a brick oven. It was crazy, so that was delicious. So if you're local to Long Island, or even if you're sort of close by in like Connecticut, they hold the festival yearly and it's a lot of fun. I think that there's even a bus from New York City out to the east end of Long Island, which isn't a far trip anyway, but I think that that's pretty convenient, and everything is on the website. I will link to it in my show notes, even though it's already passed. If you're local, if you live around here on Long Island, or like I said, close to it, if you're in New York City, it's an easy enough trip. You can also, well, I don't know how well you'd succeed with taking the Long Island Railroad. Once you got out there, you'd need to still get to the festival, but it's definitely an easy trip. So I will link to that. It's a lot of fun next year. Now that I kind of know what's going on there, I can go in with a plan and maybe purchase something. So yeah, check it out. It's fun. And we got to talk about pod people. So the podcast I want to talk about this time is the Crazy Sock Lady, who is Kay. It's a podcast hosted by Kay. Kay's podcast is so sweet. And if you can't tell by the title of her podcast, Kay knits a lot of socks, which I'm always interested in. And now that I'm knitting fewer socks, I feel like I can live vicariously through Kay's sock knitting. She always has also great knit-alongs happening. I think she has a sock blank knit-along happening now, if I'm not mistaken. I've never knit from a sock blank before. I'm gonna try that sometime. But check her out. She's also knitting some shawls right now as well. She's got some good variation in her projects. It's not just socks. And yeah, she's just very sweet, down to earth, and I think that you should give her podcast a try. So that's all I have for this episode, and I just want to remind you to check out the promo video for the Spin for All. Even if you're not a spinner, maybe see if it's something that you'd be interested in doing or thinking about. You still have time to get a drop spindle and some fiber, And that spin along starts on June 1st. So the next time I see you on the podcast, our spin for all will have already started. So if you're thinking about it, join up. Let us know in the chatter threads. Come post what you're planning on spinning, what your level is. I can't wait to talk to some other people about spinning, some other newbies, and hopefully some other people who know what they're doing a little bit more and can help out. So I'm very excited about it. Check out the promo video if you're interested. It's linked down below. And I hope you enjoyed chatting with me today. And if you're a new viewer and you enjoyed today's podcast, I hope you consider subscribing to my channel so you don't miss any of my new videos. Thanks again to all of my returning subscribers for hanging out with me. And until next time, happy knitting!